And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
We are exploited. We are downtrodden. We are denied not only civil rights, but even human rights. So the only way we're going to get some of this oppression and exploitation away from us or aside from us is come together against the common enemy.
I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
Get together, have a few laughs.
Welcome to the Iowa Talk Guys podcast. I'm your host, Teepee.
I'm your host, Mel.
And I'm Erock.
And today we're bringing you an episode that we've been trying to put together for actually since the beginning of the show. Erock and Theo and I had a conversation about wanting to do a show about this, about the Oklahoma City bombing. And we've shared some stuff and been collaborated with some stuff on Instagram with a guy, the Rack 603, for anybody that's our Instagram listeners out there. And we heard him on a few other podcasts. One of them, our brother from the Great White North, Davey Wavy 2112. If you don't know who he is, you're wrong.
If you don't know what 2112 is,
you're wrong too. Again, you're messing up again. So, yeah, go check out Red Pill Cartel, or you can listen to Tony Cote, who is our guest this evening. And we're going to be talking about the Oklahoma City bombing with Tony. So, without further ado, everybody give Tony a big Iowa Talk Guys welcome.
Hey guys, thank you very much for having me on. It's quite an honor to be able to be on with some guys like yourself. And, this is a subject that's close to heart for me. It was definitely a wake-up moment, a red pill moment, if you will, before there were red pills. I mean, 1995 was one of the highlights of my life, but it seems so far ago now. It's interesting looking back. But on the same token, when the events on April 19th of 1995 took place, there was quite a bit of a fog of war kind of scenario going on at the time, and there were definitely people that were willing to accept the government narrative 100%. I obviously wasn't.
At 10?
What's that?
You said at 10? You already saw something fishy was in there?
Yeah,
honestly,
at 10 years
to me, it never really sat right to me either. Like, did that much devastation to this building? Like, what kind of city codes you got down there in Oklahoma, right?
like if that fertilizer can do that much damage, like why are they putting it on our crops?
Well, dude, yeah, I grew up on a farm,
exactly.
so when that happened, dude, I was all super like afraid of going around any of the ammonium anhydrous and stuff, dude. I was like, I don't want to go around that fertilizer. It's gonna blow up and kill me. I'll be the next Oklahoma City bombing victim. No, I'm just joking. It did freak me out a little bit, though, dude.
Yeah, and no doubt, like the ammonium nitrate component, I guess, of the story is interesting because when McVeigh and Nichols actually purchased that, John Doe number 2 was also involved, and we're going to get deep into that. I promise you that, because that is the most fascinating aspect of this. It is that there was a complete shutdown of a government investigation when it came to John Doe number 2. They talked about it for about 3 months. The actual bombing happened on April 19th, but it went on until about August when they were talking about John Doe number 2, and then all of a sudden the government said the guy never existed.
So he was the second, the passenger in the truck that fled the scene, right? Was that who you're talking about, John Doe number 2? Let's set this up. So
it's Hitler's birthday eve.
Yes.
And on the anniversary of Waco?
On the anniversary of Waco, Timothy, the story goes, the official narrative is Timothy McVeigh is really upset about the events of Waco that happened in Waco and how the ATF just was just like, basically murdered a bunch of people or whatnot.
He was also upset about Ruby Ridge as well.
And Ruby Ridge, rightfully so. I totally get it and stuff. So the official narrative is that Timothy McVeigh bombed the Murrah, gosh dang it, federal building.
Federal building.
Yep.
And killed how many people?
183, I believe.
And wounded like...
it was almost 400 others, I believe.
Yeah, 500.
Don't take me on... Don't quote me on that. It's
680. Out of the 168 killed, 19 were children. They always got to throw the dead babies in there, dude. It always has to be dead babies.
They were thrown out of the incubators.
President Bush repeated the incubator story at least 10 times in the following weeks.
Babies pulled from incubators and scattered like firewood across the floor.
I mean, I've been doing this a long time. I never really thought that I would see and have confirmed pictures of terrorists beheading children. I never thought I'd ever... Anyway,
Fool me once. Shame on you. You fool me, we can't get fooled again.
Scattered across the floor like firewood. Dead babies, right? Yeah, it's always about the dead babies, man. So, and then, wounded 680 others. So, Timothy McVeigh, this lone wolf, crazed, and mind you, I just want to point out real quick, Timothy McVeigh did not have any social network footprint. Thomas Matthew Crooks. Just weird coincidence there. Mind you, this is before the internet was this is before social media, but that's beside the point. I'm just letting you know there's a connection there. Timothy McVeigh, Thomas Matthew Crooks. See where I'm going with this, Tony?
Yeah. So let me just jump in as far as that goes. So as far as McVeigh goes, you're right. It was before a social network was even thought of at that point. But McVeigh did, and I think this is very important to point out that McVeigh was there. After Ruby Ridge, I even remember that, to be honest with you. It's like some of my earliest memories. Like, it's weird, but I do remember Ruby Ridge and Waco obviously following that. McVeigh actually was in the vicinity of Waco in 1993, and he also made contact with a guy named, I'm going to pull it up here. I know I've got it on my tabs here somewhere. But he made contact with a guy that kind of matched the John Doe number 2 description. You can actually look at the FBI files as soon as you pull up the FBI documents on McVeigh.
So real quick,
the first thing that you'll see.
I'm sorry, just real quick. Explain John Doe, who never existed, for the people who do not know. If you could, please.
Sure. Okay, so this one's going to take a little bit of a deep dive. This is going to involve Elohim City. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that or the audience is, but Elohim City is the place in Oklahoma, the Oklahoma-Nebraska border.
Where all those white supremacists are greatest
yes, well, I mean, that's what it was portrayed as, but in reality, it was more of a Christian national movement versus white supremacy. They kind of the FBI kind of put
Elohim
in with,
that's a name of God, isn't it? Elohim.
Yes, and it's also the name of a false god if you look into it enough. So that's very interesting in itself. It was actually established in 1973 by a guy named, one moment here. All right, so I'm pulling this up right here now. So it's saying that during the 1990s, the secluded 400-acre enclave was a stop-off point for what some called as an underground railroad for extremists of white supremacist movement. Again, it doesn't, looking at it from an external viewpoint, I guess, they always say like a 30,000 foot view is a commercial airliner, a 36,000 view is that's a private jet, and you get different perspective. However, either way, the white supremacist connection can't be ignored. It's something that should definitely be put on the record. But I honestly don't think that McVeigh really had white supremacist views. I think he just hated the federal government and the gun laws and the things that were coming down at the time. Again,
you think McVeigh acted on his own accord? He wasn't recruited by the Black Ops?
No, I don't think that at all. I think he was absolutely recruited by the Black Ops. And I think that, again, John Doe number 2, that's the easiest way to really access the information that I'm talking about. But, I don't think there's one iota of my, intelligent viewpoint, and based on looking back at this for 25, 30 years now, I don't think he acted alone at all. You can actually look at the statements that he made on record and under oath as far as a polygraph statement. Even his own lawyer at the time actually told him, told the judge at the time, that his information regarding his own actions was accurate, but the actions that other people took, he felt, this is the lawyer talking, he felt at the time that not only were the facts that Timothy McVeigh were trying to put out were false, but he was actively abstaining from giving a factual agreement of what happened that day.
Just 2 weeks before the 17th anniversary of the Oklahoma bombing, new calls from Timothy McVeigh's own attorney that McVeigh had helped.
I do not believe that Tim McVeigh acted alone.
Well, in fact, Stephen Jones tells Eyewitness News 5 there's an overwhelming amount of evidence others besides McVeigh, Terry Nichols, and Michael Fortier were involved.
One can say that the government convinced the jury of Mr. McVeigh's guilt. One can say that the government had insufficient evidence to indict others, but that's not the same thing as saying there are not others.
Well, Jones says a federal grand jury indicted others, indicated others were involved, but couldn't identify those people. He also says witnesses here in Oklahoma saw Timothy McVeigh the morning of the bombing and all say he was with someone else.
The prosecutor actually shared in this view, too, that they thought that McVeigh was hiding information of co-conspirators. And we're definitely going to jump into that shortly here. But there was a lot more people involved. There's John Doe 2. There's also John Doe 4, which has even less attention. But it's something that, again, was looked into after 18,000 FBI interviews within the 2 years after the event.
Yeah, I'm just reading now that the FBI gathered 43,450 leads, including 15,664 leads from the John Doe drawings.
Interesting. And Erock was able to pulled up a drawing. Please sketching of John Doe.
First thing you see when you pull up the FBI files, like you can go on FBI.gov, and the first thing you see within one page of scrolling is John Doe number 2, and it looks like a well-built, possibly Mexican-American man. So they rented the Ryder truck about 2 weeks before the actual event happened, and there's multiple accounts of people who have sworn testimony that are saying that there was a third guy. Not only in the run up to the actual event, but actually on the day of. Like it says that the fuse or whatever you want to say was lit from the inside of the passenger compartment of the Ryder van, and then pushed through the firewall, if you will, or whatever, separating the passenger compartment from the storage compartment in the rear. And they say that fuse actually went out. And John Doe number 2 got out of the vehicle, went into the back of the truck, and actually relit the fuse. And there are people saying that they saw this happen.
How much ammonium nitrate was in that?
A shit ton, man. I honestly, I don't know that number, but it's a lot.
Jeeves will fact check it.
The massive homemade bomb was composed of more than 2 tons of ammonium nitrate fertilizer and fuel oil.
The way that Timothy McVeigh also had placed the ammonium nitrate and fuel oil barrels in the truck made a difference as well. He had it in like a V shape on the side, and it created a shape charge type of explosion. And that's why I said it was so devastating and penetrated so deep into that building.
All right, so you ready for the fucking real interesting part about that?
Yeah, send it.
Okay, so the interesting thing here about the event and when it happened, the initial target was actually the federal courthouse across the street. The initial target had nothing to do with the, Social Security office and the daycare center and all that stuff. And the actual accomplices of McVeigh and Terry Nichols at the time said that they pretty much disavowed any notice of Timothy McVeigh's involvement or Terry Nichols' involvement in the movement itself, because they considered what he did to be the worst possible case scenario. It wasn't the initial target. The initial target was actually, again, the federal courthouse, which is all part of the same complex in the city. However, believe it or not, they didn't measure the height of the van accurately. And they went to go get inside of the underground parking facility inside of the federal courthouse, and they couldn't do it because it was like 2 inches too big. and that's something
that's what she said.
Yeah, no shit. But it really is something that like it gets lost on history, because the fact that they couldn't go in there is the reason why. Because if they would have got in there, if they would have got into the basement of that federal courthouse building, the damage would have been much more severe. But because again they didn't measure the fucking van, they ended up bombing the outside of the Merle Federal Building instead of the parking garage of the federal courthouse, which is what really would have done the most damage.
Well, what about, you ever read the evidence about explosives being pre-placed prior to, which was almost like a precursor to 9/11, if they had done that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you know what? To be honest with you, I'm not comfortable commenting on that. I didn't hear it. It wouldn't surprise me, to be honest with you, but it's nothing that I've personally pulled up information on. So,
from the research I've seen, there was evidence of crews going into the Murrah building prior to might have possibly been setting up explosives. Also, there was a lot of stuff that there was some other stuff where like half the daycare kids were canceled. There was a bunch of people that didn't show up to work that day at the Murrah Federal Building as well.
That much
Just
I have
like
heard.
9/11.
That much I have definitely heard of. I'm trying to pull it up right now, guys. So the significance of the date, have you guys looked into that or no?
April 19th, the occultic date behind it? Or what do you mean?
Yeah, so there's the occult aspect. There's also a civilian that was put on death row on that date. And I'm sorry, guys. I have so many tabs open here. I'm trying to find it.
It's all good.
April 19th, 1775, the battles of Lexington and Concord during the American Revolution was an effort by 13 British colonies in North America with help of France, Spain, and the Netherlands to win their independence.
Are you saying that McVeigh was a patriot? He chose that specific date?
It was also the Waco anniversary.
And the Waco anniversary?
Yeah.
Did the ATF, are they patriots? Did they choose that date? Do you think, that's
ATF
another, did they choose that date specifically, intentionally? Because it said allegedly, with Waco, allegedly a post office or UPS driver or whatever saw a broken package with grenades, and so he called it in, right?
Yes. The other thing that I'm trying to pull this up now, guys. I'm sorry, I had it here, but April 19th, there was a leader of the white supremacy group, Wayne Snell.
Wayne Snell? Or Snell?
Snell. So if you search, it's another 3-letter name or 3-word name. Richard Wayne Snell. Okay, so Richard Wayne Snell was actually a member of a white supremacist group.
I'm sorry to cut you off real quick. Just to go back to the April 19th, we did just find it was allegedly the first day that somebody took acid, which goes all the way back to our MK Ultra series and stuff, that doctor in the mountains over there. Anyways.
Well, here's the crazy part, though, guys. Richard Wayne Snell was scheduled for execution on April 19th, and Timothy McVeigh actually told a stripper, and I've got that pulled up somewhere here too, told a stripper in Oklahoma City, I believe, or Tulsa, maybe, I don't know. I'll have to pull it up. But he told her that he'd be remembered for April 19th. And this guy, Richard Wayne Snell, was actually on death row, scheduled to be executed that day. He was executed 12 hours after the bombing happened. And he was clapping and fucking holding a good old time in his cell.
Wow. That's very interesting. So you're trying to flex on a stripper? You're going to remember me for this day. Don't forget it.
Yeah. No, hold on. Let me pull it up, guys. It's just we're on hold anyways here.
I'm just saying, like, what kind of a loser does that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no doubt.
Also on April 19th, hold on, Mel found this. Go ahead.
On April 19th, 1985, 200 ATF and FBI agents lay siege to the compound of the white supremacist survival group, the Covenant, the Sword, and the Arm of the Lord in Arkansas. They surrendered 2 days later.
Is that the CCC? Because that's definitely mentioned in a bunch of
it's the CSA
documents.
In Arkansas, that's old Bill Clinton's freaking
the Whitewater Papers that got moved from Arkansas.
Weird.
To that building.
Right.
Along with the...
Right.
Yeah, no, I never looked down at that. So, the date. That's wild. That's wild.
So I'm just going to read this to you guys real quick here before we get started again. McVeigh spent most of 1994 in the West, especially Kingsman, where he found minimum wage work as a security guard at a lumber yard. His behavior moved more and more out of the mainstream. He turned to Arizona as a bunker and began developing and testing homemade bombs. He then took off to New Mexico, where he was caught trespassing onto Area 51 lands near Roswell, New Mexico, a top secret government land that he suspected might be critical into the U.S. plot against American citizens, and traveled to Gulfport, Mississippi to investigate the rumor that the town had become a staging area for the United Nations troops. Like, this guy was, honestly, he was hooked into conspiracy theories before we had the internet, man.
That's why he didn't get on social media.
No, he couldn't have, I mean,
know, I'm just being a dickhead.
It's crazy, and then, here, the last paragraph, McVeigh picked April 19th, 1995 as date for the bombing to coincide with the second anniversary of the federal government's assault of the Branch Davidians near Waco. Around 9 a.m., McVeigh parked his rented Ryder truck in front of the Murrah building.
Nothing runs like a Ryder, man.
One of the ways Ryder makes your move easier is by renting trucks with automatic transmission. Because moving doesn't have to be an uphill battle. Ryder, we're there when you need us.
Yeah, but so the crazy part is, in the late 1980s is when he met Terry Nichols, and when they were in the Army together. And then from that point, he spent about a year and a half in Michigan with Nichols. Then you come across Michael Fortier. Have you heard of him?
So, Han, just to clarify, Terry Nichols was the guy that everybody saw on Bowling for Columbine, right?
Did Timothy McVeigh ever stay here?
Yes, yes. He stayed here several times for the longest period, about 3 months or so, I don't know. But he was a nice guy.
Decent guy?
Oh, yeah.
They didn't find anything on this farm.
As to what? Bomb-making material?
Any kind of explosives?
Yeah, I had blasting caps, dynamite blasting caps, dynamite fuse, black powder, for muzzle loaders, and sure, diesel fuel, fertilizer, but that is normal farm stuff. That is no way connected any way whatsoever to the Oklahoma City bombing or bomb making. Them people, law enforcement, if you want to call them that, were here and they were shaking in their shoes. They were physically shaking, scared to death.
Of?
Because they thought this was going to be another Waco. Because certain people, namely my ex-wife and other people, said, I'm a radical, I'm a wild man, I got a gun under every arm, down every leg, and every shoe, every corner of the house. You say anything to me, I'll shoot you. If the people find out how they've been ripped off and enslaved in this country by the government, by the powers to be, they will revolt with anger, with merciless anger. There'll be blood running in the streets. When the government turns tyrannical, it is your duty to overthrow it.
Well, why not use Gandhi's way? He didn't have any guns, and he beat the British Empire.
I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, that was Terry Nichols being interviewed by Michael Moore in Bowling for Columbine.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess
or James Nichols, I'm sorry.
Definitely kind of.
James Nichols, I'm sorry. It's his brother.
Oh, okay. Yes, his brother did have some interviews with the FBI and stuff like that. That's definitely something that popped up throughout the investigations.
Yeah, when he got cleared, he started doing interviews.
Right. And, you know, when it came down to it, you know, when Terry himself was interviewed, you can also see the comparisons to what I guess was, I don't know, I mean, I'd have to say it was a botched investigation, but, you know, call it what you want. There was definitely problems deriving from the interviews with, you know, Terry Nichols and his brother. And that's why Terry Nichols didn't get the death sentence, because there was just too many convoluted facts.
Where is he now?
Terry Nichols is now serving a life sentence with the likes of Charles Manson and others in the Colorado Max security facility.
Well, Uncle Charlie's dead.
There's a time for living. The time keeps on flying.
Yeah, well, I'm sure his spirit still fucking roams over there. Uncle Charlie and, you know, also Uncle Teddy, too. Uncle Teddy was there, too, so it's about the worst of the worst that you can have.
The Unabomber?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about
Uncle Teddy. We can have a great conversation about him, but I guess we can kind of go from here to the 1980s, the late 1980s. Between 1990 or 1988 and 89, that's when Terry Nichols and McVeigh were actually in service together. You know, that's when the bond was formed, if you will. And Terry Nichols, he pulled some crazy bullshit, which was involved with, I'm trying to think of it now, basically saying that he denounced the United States government and passed off his citizenship as renounced. I know that sounds a little crazy, but that's what was going on at that time. And then, you know, after Nichols renounces U.S. citizenship, he did take a look at the situation that McVeigh was in, also as a, you know, an Army soldier of some sort of rank. I'm not going to pretend to know that, but he did also look at that, and for whatever reason, him and McVeigh had a you know, a strong personal relationship, and in 1989, I believe, they lived together at at Nichols' Michigan residence. Prior to that,
that's where Michael Moore interviewed Nichols at.
Right. So there was at least a year and a half when they were living together. There's not a terrible amount of information as far as that goes, but it's absolutely a documented fact that they lived together during that time in Michigan between 88 and 89. You know, what they were talking about or what they were doing at that time, who knows? But honestly, you can't really tell. You know, I mean, there are people out there that are talking shit, and they will never amount to anything as far as on a domestic terrorism level. but they're upset. And I don't know. As far as that goes, can't really complain. I mean, it is what it is. The U.S. government has fucked up a lot, and as far as what we do about that, I obviously don't condone any sort of vicious anger or any kind of repercussions to what has happened. But I think that people should be able to get pissed about what the government's doing.
And we need to vote out the people that are allowing this stuff to continue to happen. That's how you combat it, right? And
I would agree, sir.
People should be aware of this stuff, because it's like you look at now what's happened in the last 4 or 5 years, and just people blindly following and just, okay, we should do what we're told. I mean, holy smokes, dude! It's crazy to watch the people. That's like, if you knew what has happened in the past, you wouldn't be so happy to just blindly follow these morons along. You should be really seeing what they're doing and what they're about, right?
No doubt, dude. Like that's honestly, like, it takes a lot to have the balls to speak about stuff like this. And this is why I really appreciate you guys taking me on, because, for the most part, it's just like, I've been talking about this stuff for a long time, like a very long time. Like, it's the experiences like we're talking about today, as far as, a victim in some sort of domestic dispute, but it's not even that. Like, you really have to, like, dig back and figure out, like, how are they trying to screw us, because it just comes up constantly, man. And I just want to say that, like, if nothing else hits home, understand that your government does not have your best interest in mind. And I'll
Amen.
be the first to say that. I'll be the last to say that. I'm telling you, 100%, that's a fact. They don't care about you.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
In our outro, that's why we put Ronald Reagan, the 9 scariest words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help, right?
I'm here to help. Yeah, yeah. I didn't even have to have you finish that. I absolutely know it. Let me see here. I definitely, there's a couple more things that I definitely want to contact on here. Okay, this one's a heavy hitter. You ready?
Send it.
All right. So this is in regards to the American terrorist, Timothy McVeigh, and the Oklahoma City bombing. This is a great, great book that I highly recommend. So I'm going to read through this. So it goes through a question and action commentary, whatever. So the first question is, now are you familiar with what Timothy McVeigh looks like, Miss Howe? Okay, Miss Howe is the expert witness on the stand. Answer, yes, sir. Question, have you seen photographs of Timothy McVeigh? Answer, yes, I have. Did you see Timothy McVeigh at the Elohim City compound? Answer, yes, I have. Was that in July of 1994? Did you see him? Yes, I saw a picture of him across a lawn chair in a church building. Was he accompanied by any other individuals who you know? Answer, yes, he was. Question, and who were they? A man named Peter Ward, a man named Andreas Strossmeyer. You need to understand that that man is a very important story in this whole particular event. Andy Strossmeyer was known as the German. Okay, so the German, you know what he was accused of? He was accused of basically events that would coincide with some sort of paperclip document. Andy Strossmeyer was a German regular that was a grandson, supposedly, of the German test pilots, if you will, for regular involvement in paperclip type operations. But I can tell you 100%, look it up. Andy Straussmeyer was 100% involved with German activities after World War II.
Did I also read something that he was involved with the Mossad? But it's like,
oh boy,
a German.
You know what? Honestly,
he fled to Germany after all this, right?
I believe he actually fled to the U.S. I don't think he fled to Germany. I think he fled to the U.S. I could be wrong, but I'm telling you 100%, this guy was involved in some bad shit.
It says here that Robert Miller quickly expelled Andrew Straussmeyer from Elam City after he became aware that the FBI was looking at Straussmeyer for possible ties to McVeigh and the bombing. And then it says here that the FBI notes from the 1997 FBI investigation state that sometime after the bombing, CIA pilot Dave Holloway flew Straussmeyer out of the United States. While that same report recorded Straussmeyer was flown to Berlin, many have speculated that he was instead flown to Mexico.
I mean, they're definitely Nazis, dude.
Yeah, no doubt.
Aren't they all?
Yeah, no, I mean, it is what it is. Like, I don't pretend to be something I'm not. Like, I just look at history, how it comes, and, you know, they're all fucked, dude. They're bad people, and we need to fucking take care of them.
It says here that Straussmeyer's attorney, Kirk Lyons, said that his client's sudden departure from the U.S. was aided by members of Germany's elite counterterrorism unit, the GSG-9.
Right, and you can look at that as South America, because that's exactly where they all fucking went, man.
Argentina specifically, right?
Correct. Yeah, and you know what? I have no problem putting my fucking name on that. If you guys want to look it up and see what happened, yeah, absolutely. Put my name on it, because I can't get through my own fucking life without understanding what happened before me. You know, my grandfather was a World War II vet, you know, like he was in the Aleutian Islands and stuff, like not necessarily tied together to it, but definitely not tied away from it. You know, what he did interacted with what the rest of us deal with in 1950 plus scenario.
That's the sad thing, is after all that stuff that those guys went through, the World War II vets, the government still found a way to lie to them and manipulate them to enslave their children, and they willingly let them do it. Because our government,
but you know what?
Would never do that to us, man.
You know what, though, brother? It's the absolute hard truth of what we have to deal with as a society at this point that makes me anxious to deal with my grandfather's generation, and, you know, whether it be the Aleutian Islands or San Francisco, I don't even care, man. It's just, you gotta understand that, like, there are people that are willing to fight for you, and a lot of them are dead. But what do we do at this point? What do we do? What I think we do? We fucking fight. And we figure it out, man. It's not pretty. It's not anything that we want, but you think that there's guys like me that are gonna back away from shit like that? No. We're here, man. We're fucking here.
Yeah, man. I mean, and like we said, that's we definitely believe fighting for your rights, standing up for your rights. And the best way to do that is at the voting box. Start at your local. We've always said that it starts with your local government, and it goes from there. Start getting involved in town hall meetings. Start getting involved in your voting for your governor, looking at the people that they're putting in their cabinets and whatnot, right?
For anybody that doesn't know, you can register to vote online. It's that easy. All you need is a driver's license in the state of Iowa.
But, you know, voting registration IDs are racist, so...
I kind of went on a rant at the end there, but that's really where I stand, like, local politics and, like, fucking... I just want to say fuck everybody, and
yeah, there you go. Yeah,
agree with me,
leave me alone. Fuck everybody, leave me alone. So, right. Yeah, then you don't want to end up like Ruby Ridge, and piss off people, like, and then make these Timothy McVeigh crazies come out, right? So, bringing it back, Erock, did you have something you wanted to bring up?
Well, just going back to that Jolly West visiting Timothy McVeigh.
Oh, yeah.
It says,
I think that there is definitely like a larger view that we should try to look at as far as, again, John Doe number 2, man, that fucked up, but like it's something that has also been like dynamically been available to some sort of shortage in intellectual
right.
product.
Yeah, but Erock was saying something about Jolly West and Timothy McVeigh.
Jolly West, is that what you said?
Erock, do you have something?
So apparently Dr. Jolly West visited Timothy McVeigh in jail many times. And then furthermore, Timothy McVeigh had also wrote a letter to his sister saying he was selected to be an assassin for the CIA.
Yeah, no, I'm good on that. And as far as the McVeigh interview, which would have, interrupted some sort of local service or whatever, there was a couple things going on. So McVeigh was, again, in 1988, 1989, he was involved in a custom service, whatever, for those people. What I will also tell you, and I'm going to tell you this without an actual partisan draw or anything like that, there was a man named Anton
LaVey?
No, it wasn't Anton LaVey. He definitely had a particle in this in the service, but it was Anton. I'm sorry, I just don't remember the name. However, when you looked at Terry Nichols and Timothy McVeigh, there were certain things that popped up that became an issue of public consciousness, if you will. What happened is basically in 1988-89, that's when Terry Nichols and Timothy McVeigh went into the same cult, if you will. The same thing can also be said as far as, their bread and convenience, if you will, with whatever they had going on. They definitely had contact. There's no doubt in anybody's mind that Terry Nichols and Timothy McVeigh had constant circulation as far as communication goes at that point. It is what it is.
As far as having like a government inside, agent or handler or something, is that what you're referring to?
Yes, I didn't realize you guys were still on board. I thought I was kind of going with it freehand here, but no,
yeah, we're listening. Yeah. You're good. We're listening.
Yeah, no. So I mean, at that point, there is a scenario when those people got in touch with each other. I don't know. And I'm going to try to wrap this up in a bow, but be honest with you, I might miss a step. This is going off freehand, okay?
Yeah, just do your best, man. You're good. You're good.
No doubt. Okay, so what happened really, with the Timothy McVeigh and Terry Nichols scenario and the other suspect, I guess, the Soviet is what he's known as. Andrew, I believe it is. This is a person that was involved in this investigation that they never really prosecuted, and you can look back on it even further, and there's even more as far as the 1980s and what was going on here. You can look at Andrew the Soviet. There is a legitimate tie to him and the information that was provided between 1988 and 1995. And you probably won't find it unless you legit search for what I'm telling you. You won't find it. However, I'm going to tell you, you should look there, and there are legitimate ties to complete government bullshit that we've been asked to suck down as lies. So that's it. I do have all the clips to back this up. We'll get there eventually, man. But honestly, I'm not bullshitting. I have looked through this for decades and decades. And
we don't.
The
Iowa Talk guys definitely don't doubt you, man. This is a lot to digest.
No doubt, man.
There's so much to it, and that's why normal people don't want to go look down the rabbit hole, because there is so much to it to where they're like, this is bullshit.
Because you lose yourself, man. Like, to be honest with you, you lose yourself in, like, trying to figure out what the fuck is actually happening in our society. You know, it's like, you know, just even looking back 30 seconds here, I hope you understand the severity of the situation that I presented, because I just gave you my whole heart as far as where we're going, what happened, and what we can look for in the future.
Dude, yeah, and we really appreciate that. And, you know, nobody can predict the future. We don't know really where we're going, but given the indicators, we can have kind of a rough idea, right? And you should prepare for the very worst case scenarios, pray for the best case scenario, prepare for the worst case scenario, right?
Right. But, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, we all, I'm going to put this out there, but we all pray for the future, man. Like, we can't necessarily gauge where things are headed, but, you know, it's a little bit easier to look at where things have gone and how we can, you know, improve. And I really hope that that's something that we can build off of, you know, in the future to come. You can't name things, you can't name predicaments, you can't name any future resilience to something that has gone on. But I do feel, to be honest with you, like, guys like you, like, shit, man, let's do this, you know? Like, it's not something that, again, you can predict, but it's something that you have an idea of who you want to be partnered with when shit hits the fan. And, you know, that is something that I 100% value with you and your audience.
My friends, the choice is not whether you're going to stick with your party leaders. The choice here is what side of history do you want to be on? Will you be on the side of history where you stick with the people and the principles that built this exceptional nation?
Dude, thanks. We really appreciate that, man. That's awesome. We really do.
No doubt.
All right, I think we might have to do a part 2, because there's still, I feel like we only touched on the subject. You know what I mean? There's still so much here to unpack on this whole puzzle that is the Oklahoma City bombing, right? And just like everything else, dude, once you start going down those rabbit holes, you find out pretty much all the official narratives are bullshit, right? They're lies.
I 1000% agree with you. Like, I feel like we've touched the surface, but I don't think that we've given the audience the actual proof they deserve. And I know we had some technical issues and stuff like that, but yeah, man, when you say part 2, I say part 3 or 4, maybe, man. This is really a deep issue. And, you know, I just want to say I really appreciate people like yourself and, you know, trying to make this best we can. But I do believe that we have a lot more work to do on this, because it's just so in depth, man. There's a lot we got to do with.
Yeah, man, definitely. We here at the Iowa Talk Guys agree. We're looking forward to part 2. It's just going to be a matter of timing, you know. But things are about to slow down here in the fall, so we really appreciate you coming on, Tony. We're definitely gonna put a link in for Davey Wavy, show it in our description also, so people can go back and listen to that as well to get to know a little bit more about you as well. And we'll keep our audience posted on part 2. So real quick before we go through our outro spiel, where can people find you?
All right, hey guys, I really appreciate you listening to this episode, and I anticipate interacting with you more in the future. For right now, though, if you guys can reach me at TheRack, TheRack 603 on Instagram. If you guys can reach me there, they don't like me much, but I'm still there, and hopefully we can make a connection there. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Tony. We really appreciate it, man. That's awesome. So people go give him a follow, check his stuff out. Thank you for doing that.
Oh, I'm all good, guys. I sincerely appreciate the help. And at the end of the day, I've been doing this a very long time. Like, I started in, 2004, you know. They're always going to hate on people like me. But you guys keep me alive. And I do this as God's work. And I try to keep that going.
Amen, man. Keep your chin up, dude.
No doubt. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it and look forward to the next conversation.
Yeah, thank you, man. We'll be in touch.
No doubt. Thank you, guys. Take care.
Rock on. See ya. And you can find us at Iowa Talk Guys on X. You can find us at Instagram at Iowa Talk Guys _podcast.
YouTube and Rumble at Iowa Talk Guys.
IowaTalkGuys.com.
And always remember, don't eat the yellow cake.
Don't drink the Kool-Aid.
Don't eat the yellow snow.
Iowa Talk Guys out.
Hi. Good night, everybody.
I ain't got a good brain.
Well, I'm sick and tired of smart guys.
Oh, durka.
It wasn't a space laser. It wasn't a murder hornet. It wasn't Sasquatch. It was a bullet.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
It's all there, black and white, clear as crystal. You lose. Good day, sir.
Here I am with you in Iowa, and I'd rather be here. I'd rather be here. So thank you very much. Very nice. Appreciate it.